Oh my god, it's finally happened. I have been shouting from the mountaintops for years that I want a vertical gaming mouse, and Razer has finally done it. Well, I've been using it for the last day, and well, it's a little bit complicated, but I'm still very excited. Now, if you're new to the channel, you're probably thinking a couple things. Dawid, that's a weird name, surely you spelled something wrong there. And the second thought would be, why would you want a game with a vertical mouse? That sounds terrible. Well, a couple of years ago, I found that playing a game like Dota, which requires some feverish clicking action, that my weak gamer forearms couldn't stand up to the strain, and I got some pretty bad carpal tunnel. I think the technical term is wanker's cramp. A problem which was solved when I moved over to Logitech's MX Vertical. Lifting your forearm off the table reduces the strain from the tendons in your forearm. But there's a pretty big problem with the MX Vertical, which is one of the few vertical mouse options out there. It has a real loser sensor in it, which combined with its pretty pathetic feet on the bottom means that its tracking is terrible. Now, it's fine for desktop use and even a game like Dota 2, but when playing FPS games, you can really start to feel the limitations of this mouse. Now, some of you may remember that last year I did a video where I vivisected a Logitech G305 and then transplanted its organs into the 3D printed shell of an MX Vertical. The problem with that mouse was that the fit and finish of the 3D printed shell couldn't get anywhere near to the build quality of sweet injection molded plastic. Enter the Razer ProClick V2. I cannot believe I'm actually looking at this thing. I didn't think anybody was ever gonna make it, and I was half expecting to have to use my MX Vertical for the rest of my life. And as you've probably noticed just by looking at it, Razer has the gamer swag down with an RGB ring around the base. This was actually something I was quite worried about initially when I saw the marketing of this mouse, because the pictures online make it look like one of those cars from Need for Speed Underground. But luckily, in person, the RGB isn't that overbearing, and you can turn it off and you can't tell that it was once there, so that's fine. But aside from that, on paper, this looks like exactly what I was looking for. Razer seems to have taken the internals from one of their high-end gaming mice and just spliced it into a vertical ergo mouse. They took their Focus Pro 30K optical sensor, dropped it in here, gave it a 1000 Hz polling rate, which in my opinion is as much as you need, and then, very importantly, they added some nice looking footies to the base of the mouse. Oh yeah, that feels real smooth. I mean, compared to this, it's way better. Oh, it's so much better. I mean, just that is already very promising. There are also some other interesting features. I like how they implemented the shoulder buttons on this mouse. Instead of having two small buttons just next to each other on the top, like with the MX Vertical and most gaming mice, they actually stacked them, which is really cool. I think that kind of conceptually makes quite a lot of sense. And then also, aside from its little dongle, it has the option to switch between 3 different Bluetooth devices, which is very useful. But this is an ergo mouse, so one of the most important factors of it is how does it actually feel in your hand? Well, first impressions were a little bit iffy, and then it just, ooh, that's some good packaging right there. Oh, it feels so different to the Logitech mouse. That's definitely gonna take some getting used to. Straight off the bat, I prefer the ergonomics of the Logitech mouse, but I have been using it for about a year, so I have gotten used to it, but it fills my hand in a nice way that I can kind of rest my palm on it, whereas this is more claw grippy. Ooh, but the feet. Okay, so we are about to load in. Just straight up first impressions while using it on the desktop. The sensor is clearly way better than the one in the Logitech mouse. It feels like a gaming mouse now, which makes sense. It is a gaming mouse sensor that we have. Now, aside from that, I don't really want to look a gift horse in the face, but I'm not entirely sold on the shape of it. In fact, the more I'm using it, the less sold I am on it. My main issue with it is this little lip in the bottom. It kind of forces your pinky to sit at a specific spot, and I don't like it. Oh, it's not as comfortable as the Logitech mouse, but it's a much better sensor. But for my hand shape, the Logitech mouse just feels better, but I need to give it time.
The next day.
Now, like I said, I've been using this mouse for about 24 hours, and I am slowly getting used to it. That is always the case with Ergonomics. You need to give it a while to really just get used to how it sits in your hand. I still prefer the way the MX Vertical feels, and it's definitely because of that pinky prison. But I think it's something that if you have smaller hands, won't really bother you. And that's an important thing to note with vertical mice. The size of your hand does seem to play a bigger role in how certain shapes feel in your hand compared to normal gaming mice. Which means I think this category of mouse is not as compatible with like a one-size-fits-all solution. Again, if you look at how Logitech implemented it, they had the MX Vertical, which is the bigger one, but they also have a smaller version of that mouse, which should feel better in the hands of people with them grubby little paws. So it's been a while now that I've been using the ProClick V2, and like I alluded to earlier, it's been quite the learning curve getting used to this mouse. I've been playing a bunch of Arena, Dota 2, and Oblivion, and I felt like in all three of those games, the mouse was negatively impacting my gaming performance. I was struggling to land shots in Arena, and even in Dota 2, I was mechanically having problems. And I kept thinking that the whole reason was because the pinky prison meant that I couldn't find a grip that felt natural on the mouse. Which meant that despite the fact that the mouse felt and was objectively performing better, which most clearly is illustrated when looking around while strafing. With the MX Vertical, the tracking is all choppy and weird looking, whereas it's smooth as 100-year-old brandy with the ProClick. But despite that, in aim labs, I was getting a lower score with the ProClick. But then I realized that I had my mouse sensitivity set lower on the ProClick, more in line with settings that I would use on a normal gaming mouse. And when I matched the sensitivity of the ProClick V2 to the MX Vertical, my score jumped significantly in aim labs. And suddenly I was thinking a lot less about the mouse while gaming. So what I'm thinking here is because of the difference in how you hold and move a vertical mouse, you need higher sensitivity because you can't flick the mouse as aggressively. That motion doesn't feel as natural with the mouse. So if you use the same sensitivity settings that you're used to on a normal gaming mouse, you're probably gonna struggle especially hard getting used to the ProClick 2. So does that mean that I'm finally ready to settle down, get married to my mouse, and have some weird Dawid vertical mouse chimera abomination babies? Well, no, unfortunately not. Despite the fact that I very much prefer gaming on the ProClick because of how much more refined it feels, it's just not as comfortable as the MX Vertical. And I feel like comfort is very much the point of an ergo mouse. If I didn't care about it as much, I would just use a normal gaming mouse. I'll obviously still give it a bunch of time and see if I eventually get to prefer this, but as of now, I'm sorry to say it, Razer, but I'm still holding out for Logitech to bring out a gaming version of the MX Vertical. Or you could get rid of the pinky prison on this mouse so that my pinky can dangle free, unshackled by the man. Which brings me to the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think of the ProClick V2 down below. Subscribe to the channel on the way down there, and until the next video, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.